great day to arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Just throwing that out there. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Crystal, if you didn't already know that. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a story time, and it's going to be a story time about my racist first job. And they weren't just racist, like they were homophobic. Well, I can't say all of them, but one of them definitely was. I don't know how to explain it. Like, they're just terrible people. And I'm not going, oh, just so you guys know, I do have a shirt on. I know you can't really see it. So I've got notes right now. I've got notes right here. Since I'm using my phone to record this one, I've got my notes up on my computer because I didn't want to forget anything. Honestly, even with these notes, I might have forgotten something because it just was a lot. But I'm not gonna name the name of the place just because it is a locally owned place, it is a family owned place, and I don't want to give out where I was, like location wise. But it's not me trying to protect them at all. And anybody who watches my videos that knows me in real life knows where I worked during this time period. So it's not like I'm trying to keep it a secret. I just don't want to put out what city I'm in. Yeah, I don't know. Without further ado, I'm gonna just get into the story. It's a lot, so this is probably gonna be a long video, so I don't want to talk too long. And if you want to hear the story, just keep on watching. Okay, so starting off, I'm gonna talk about when I worked there. I got hired in April of 2014. It was the end of my junior year in high school. It was my first job. I was really excited. The type of place it was like an arcade kind of. I kind of used to describe it as like a Chuck E. Cheese on steroids, or a Chuck E. Cheese for older kids, because it had arcade games in there, but it also had laser tag. And my first couple years we had a golf dome, but then that ended up collapsing during a snowstorm. But we also had putt-putt golf, bumper boats, go-karts, a roller coaster, and batting cages when they decided to work. And there was also this thing called Water Wars, which was like you filled up water balloons and like you could throw them at each other. But that, honestly, I believe we stopped doing that after my first summer because everybody got lazy. It's not like my first summer was the first summer we opened. Like, they've been open for like 20 years or almost 20 years when I got hired. But the year I got hired, I guess, was the first year that the owner was married to his new wife, and she made a lot of changes. And I honestly have never seen somebody single-handedly ruin a business the way that this woman did. Honestly, you know, I shouldn't even say single-handedly. I should say double, because it was her and her son. But anyway, beside the point. So after my first summer, when she started taking over and everything, we didn't really do Water Wars anymore because it was the employee who had to fill up the water balloons, and that was an extra attendant we had to have out there, and she didn't want to do that. She didn't want to pay anybody. But anyway, beside the point. So we had all that extra stuff. So also, I'm changing names for people in the story. I'm changing names for the owners who are racist and just terrible people, just because if people from where I'm from watch this video, they're gonna know who I'm talking about. And just in case something happens, I don't want them coming at me saying I was like slandering their actual names, like their personal names. So I'm just changing those. And then I'm gonna change some of my coworkers' names who weren't the bad people, just because I don't know if they want their names in the story. I haven't really talked to any of them. So just to be fair to them, because I actually do care about them, I'm not gonna say their real names. But anyway, so let me start with I wanted to try and start in order, but when I wrote these notes out, I kind of just started like thinking about everything. And I worked there for 4 summers, so a lot of the dates like got mixed up, so sorry if it's like not in order. So I'm gonna start with when I first got hired. One of the first things they said to us in training was boys were not allowed in the kitchen. They were not allowed to work cafe shifts. Girls were not allowed to work go-kart shifts. There had to be 2 people working out in go-kart pit, and at least one of them had to be 18. And then for the roller coaster, there had to be 2 people out there working the roller coaster, and they both had to be 18. Those were actual laws. That's what they told me my first summer. That is true. Those are laws. However, I want to say it was like my second summer, we started there started to be like 2 16-year-olds in the go-kart pit. There'd be one person working the roller coaster, which was damn near impossible. Like, because the reason there were 2 people that had to be out there is because they kind of had to like manually stop it sometimes, and sometimes you need like somebody in the front and the back to like push it to get it started. Sometimes if it got stuck, and if that happened, there's only one person out there. How are you doing the front? Like, how are you gonna have one person in the front and the back of the coaster at the same time? Like, it just doesn't work like that. So, and then I want to say this was summer 16, or I think it was summer 16. I mean, that doesn't really matter, but it was one of my last summers, and there was a 16-year-old boy. They had him out on the coaster by himself, and he fell and he got hurt. I told him to sue. I said, you weren't even supposed to be out there anyway, and not only were you not supposed to be out there, but you were out there by yourself and you got hurt. He didn't want to do that, and to cover their asses, I guess the bosses like paid his medical bill or something, but I was like, dude, like, you could have got like a settlement. Like, he wasn't supposed to be out there. He was 16 and he was by himself. And even if he had been 18, there were supposed to be 2 of them. The reason they only wanted one person out there was because they wanted to cut on wages, because she only wanted, this was one of the wife's ideas. She was all about saving money. So they wanted to cut wages. So they only wanted one person out there. Sorry, I can't talk. And then they put him out there because being 16, he made less than minimum wage, which, let me say that too. When I first got hired, all my friends were making minimum wage when I was 16. So when I first got hired, I asked what the pay was, and my boss, the wife, she was like, it's $6.30 an hour. I asked my friends what they made. They made $7.40 an hour, which was minimum wage in Michigan at the time. Turns out there is a law that you can pay minors a certain % of minimum wage, but that's just something that's shady. That's something that wasn't illegal, but that's something that's shady. And then as soon as you turned 18, you got minimum wage. So that's going back to why they cut his hours, or why they had that 16-year-old out on the roller coaster. So anyway, so there was that. Going off of the whole minimum wage thing and being under 18. So if you guys know the laws in Michigan, first of all, if you're under 18, during the school year, you can only work either 20 or 24 hours during the week. And I can think of several occasions where I was working 40 hours at least when I was under 18. Then minors are supposed to get, okay, so I'm rusty on the rules now because I'm an adult, but minors are supposed to get a break. Let me Google it, because I don't want to be spreading false information. Okay, so there are even more laws that they were breaking that I didn't even know about. So I'm going to read them to you. So, minors may work the following. This is for Michigan. Minors may work the following. Not more than a weekly average of 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. Not more than 10 hours in a day. Minors cannot be employed for more than 5 hours continuously without an interval of at least 30 minutes for a rest period. That's the one I wanted to touch on. We never got breaks, ever. We weren't allowed them. Their reasoning for that was because we were technically allowed to eat on the clock, but they also didn't want us to eat in view of customers, and we didn't have a break room. So it was kind of like, the only exception to that was like in the cafe, there was like an area where like the walk-in cooler was, where that was like hidden from the opening of the cafe, and customers couldn't see you there. But if we were ever back there eating and a customer was needing help, we would get yelled at. So it was kind of like a catch-22. Like, there was just no way around that. They would say that to cover their ass, but they wouldn't, so that they technically, like, we didn't need a break because we could eat. But I mean, that doesn't say you need 30 minutes to eat. It says for a rest period. And 2, they were saying we could eat, but they actually didn't want us to. And then it says, minors must work within the following hours. 14 to 15-year-olds may work between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. 16 to 17-year-olds may work between 6 a.m. and 10:30 p.m. 16 to 17-year-olds may work until 11:30 p.m. when not regularly enrolled in school and during school vacation period. I can think of several times when, because during the school year, on the weekends, they were closed, they closed at 11. So that's 30 minutes after the 10:30. And then they may work until 11:30 during school vacation, but in the summer, they would close at midnight on the weekends. So going off of that too, when I said we didn't get breaks, I also, as a minor, was working doubles on the weekends, which would be from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. depending, unless I would like be in the cafe with somebody else and they decided that it was getting slow and only one of us had to stay, and I would get out before 11. But a lot of times the girls, they called them, there would be a cafe vet and a cafe cashier, and the vet is somebody who was over 18. Well, actually that's not true because I became a vet when I was 17, but that's not a law. But typically the girl was over 18, and then somebody who had been there for a minute and knew what they were doing, and there'd be a cafe cashier, which was usually a new girl, me. But a lot of times the cafe vets, especially on the weekend, didn't want to close the cafe on their own, so they didn't want the cashier to go home. So if I was working a double, typically I was from 10 to 11. With the exception of also sometimes I would come in at noon, from noon to 11, but still never got a break. That's just them being shady. Back to my notes. So I want to get into, so in 2015, I met my friend. I don't think she'll care if I put her name in there, so I'm gonna put her name in there. If she decides she doesn't want her name in there, I will bleep it out and put a voiceover name, but I know she's not gonna care because she hates this place just as much as I do, if not more, and I know. So anyway, so summer 2015, we hired a girl named Trinity. Trinity became one of my close friends very fast. And to be fair, we look alike in the sense that we are both mixed girls with light skin and curly hair. That's it. That's honestly it. Trinity is a few inches taller than me. Trinity is very fit. Like, she's very health conscious. She takes care of her body. Like, I know I'm not like trying to like shit on myself, but like I'm just the average girl. Like, her body type and my body type are not the same, and like I said, she's also taller than me. I wear glasses every once in a while. Also, Trinity, like I said, she had curly hair, and I wear my hair natural a lot more now, but in the summer of 2015 I was straightening it quite frequently, and I was also wearing sew-ins and stuff, so there was really no reason where anybody would be like, oh, I'm gonna get you guys mixed up, unless there'd be a day when like we both had our hair curly and we were standing like next to each other and like turned around. But I'm trying to make excuses, but there really aren't any. Like, I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'm trying to like see from other people's point of view, but it's really, honestly, there's no reason you should have been mixing us up to the point where like it was almost every day. Like, they'd be like, Trinity, oh I mean Crystal, oh Crystal, oh I mean Trinity, like every day, all the time. And it was typically the wife. She was always doing that. Now at the time, it was only me and Trinity that she was mixing up, and this was in 2015. So I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt that it was just because me and Trinity were friends and we had similar skin tones. Now, summer 2016, that was my favorite summer out of all 4 of my summers. That was such a good summer because that was the summer when the most black people were hired, and it was so lit. Because my first 2 summers, there were other black people, but it was like we were like sprinkled here and there. Like, it wasn't like too much diversity. However, summer 16, it was lit. Like in the cafe, it was so many of us. I was like, oh my God, every shift, it was so fun because I felt so much more comfortable with like other black girls in there. Like, I did, like, we always having fun, so it was great. Now, with that being said, because there was so many of us, there was a huge variety of us. There were some of us that were shorter, some that were taller. We had light skins, dark skins, brown skins, like everything. When I tell you, I'm gonna call the wife Tracy. When I tell you, Tracy, you could literally see the trouble in her brain when she could not think of a name for us. Like, when I tell you, she called me every damn name of these girls. First of all, I want everybody to know, summer 16, I had been there since 2014 by then. I was on my 3rd summer. I had been there for 2 full years. All these other girls were new. She should have known my name just from knowing my name. Girl, I want to name names, but it's going to be hard for me to make up so many names without giving up these real names. But she would say, like, none of these girls' names were close to mine. I'm going to just say that. Like, she was like, she would call me everything. You know, I don't think these girls don't care. So Like, there was a girl named Amani. She would call me Amani. And she would, like, be dead ass, like, Amani. And I'd be looking at her, and she'd be, like, getting pissy that I wasn't answering her. And I'd be like, girl, my name's Crystal. Or there was Robin. She would call me Robin. Malia. Who else? She started calling me the name of somebody who hadn't even worked there since my first summer. I can't even, like, when I tell you we were fully staffed, like, it was just like, she never called me anybody's name that wasn't black, though. That's how I knew it was, like, racially motivated. But, like, a lot of these, like, most of the names she was calling me were girls that, like, none of us looked alike. Like, none of us looked alike. And that was just, that's the subtle racism. Let me get the rest of the subtle racism out the way, and then I'm gonna get into the direct shit. So, I was in the cafe one day, and there was a party going on. The party was a black family, but it was also a weekend, just a normal weekend in the summer, so we were busy. So these 3 boys came up and ordered a pizza. Note what I said, it was 3 boys, 3 teenage boys, and I'm gonna throw in there, all 3 of them were light skinned, and all their hair was kind of like styled the same way. They had like curly hair, but it was like, you know, low on the sides, and then like in the middle they had it like growing. And they could have been brothers because they all resembled each other. Their hair was all cut the same and whatever, but they were all young. Keep that in mind. And they came up and ordered a pizza, and Tracy took the order, but she threw the slip away. Now in the cafe, the slip would have the order number at the top, and that's how we would do it. We would like take the order, make the order, and then we would call it over the thing, like order number so and so, like your food is ready in the cafe. So when the food was done, I said, oh, hey, Tracy, what'd you do with that slip? And she said, oh, I threw it away. I said, oh, well, I needed the order number, so I could call it. She said, oh, no, it's fine. She said, those 3 black guys ordered it. And I was like, well, what 3 black guys? Like, I wasn't there when she took the order. So I only know what they look like because they came and got it later, and I gave it to them. But anyway, so she's like, those 3 black guys ordered it. And I said, well, what 3 black guys? Because like I said, there was a party, and the party room was in the cafe's like main area. So I said, there was like a whole family. It was like a black family having a party that was out there. So I said, well, what 3 black guys? Because it was a whole family, you know? And she was like, them. And she pointed at a group of 3 black men. One of them had grays in his beard. Like, one of them was bald, and they were all, like, 2 of them were dark skinned and one of them was brown skinned. And they were all men. So she's like, gentlemen, here's your pizza. And they're looking at her like, we didn't order a pizza. And then the boys came up, and they're like, oh, I think that's ours. She's like, oh, yeah. And so then I gave it to them, and I'm like, how did you mix that up? You know? So that was the last of the subtleness. Like, I wish you guys could see how different these people looked. But anyway, I'm gonna go back to hours really quick. I remember one time I had worked overtime, and we got our checks paper form every week, every Wednesday. And I went in and got my check, and there's only 40 hours exactly on it. So I said, hey, what should we call him? I'm gonna call the owner's stepson, Jack. And at this point, he had gotten in charge of payroll and stuff. So I was like, hey, Jack, I worked overtime last week. I thought I worked 45 hours. Like, I thought I clocked out at 45. He was like, oh, yeah, you did, but I'm gonna give you those 5 hours next week. And I was like, but why? He was like, well, because it saves money. This way, I can just pay you the 40 hours, and then I can throw the 5 hours on the next week that you don't work 40 hours. That way I don't have to pay you overtime. That's illegal. I, at the time, didn't know that. I was very young. I was really shy. I didn't like confrontation. This was like my first or second summer, so I still hadn't really found my voice yet. Like, you know, now I would say something. Now I'd be like, hell no. But at the time, you know, I let that shit slide, and I wish I could go back and like sue them for it, but I know I'm past the time, because there were several times that he did that to me, because there were several times. I was working over 40 hours every week. A lot of times there was weeks where I was working 55 plus hours. Like, I worked every day. Like, once I graduated high school and I actually didn't have to go to school and stuff, I was working like doubles, like every day. Like, I was on that. Like, I did nothing else, so I just worked. And you know, he was so comfortable doing that to me that I'm sure he was doing it to other people. So that's just, I wish I would have been smart enough to look into that, because I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know it was illegal, because I was like, there's no way they'd be doing that. And I was just dumb and naive and young and shy and scared of confrontation, and I wish I wasn't, because I should have got them for that. But anyway, back to the racist stuff. Tracy, one last subtle thing she used to do is well, I can't say used to, because I did check her about it the one time she did it, but I did something. I don't know what I did right, but I did something right in the cafe. Something that, I think I sold something, like a really big order. I don't know. But she was like, good girl. And I was like, girl, I am not a dog. Because what kind of I did not like that. Like, I don't know. That gave me like boy vibes, you know? And anyway, so that's the last of the subtle stuff. Now on to the outright racist shit. So, what are we calling this bitch? Okay. So, summer 2015, Jack's girlfriend gets hired. We're gonna call her Allison. Nobody liked Allison off rip just because nobody liked Jack. I didn't want to be like that, so I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, because I didn't really know how terrible they were just yet. So I tried to be nice. You know, she was nice to me at first. She starts throwing parties right off the bat. So when you do parties, you get tips. There was this new girl. She was a 16-year-old new girl, and she started doing parties as well this summer. It's her first day doing parties, the new girl. And so she comes in the back of the cafe, and she's like, oh my gosh, why did nobody tell me you make such great money doing parties with these tips? Like, I've been having great parties all day, blah, blah, blah. Like, she's just so excited about the money. And Allison goes, oh, really? Did you have any black parties? And the girl, the young girl, she's like, yeah, like I think I had two, or something. Like, it went right over her head. Like, she's just like, yeah, I did. But like, she didn't get what she was trying to say. And I was like, why did you ask her that? And she was like, well, you know, because black people don't tip. And I was like, because she's like, no, I'm just kidding. It's a joke. You know they tip. And then she's like, well, unless, of course, they have a nice car, because that's where all their money went. Bitch, I was so pissed. My friend was in the cafe with me at the time, and she was like, just go outside, it's not worth it. I should have punched this bitch, but anyway. She's like, just go outside, it's not worth it. So I went outside to my friends, and I snitched to the manager that was out there. He didn't do anything, but I snitched to him, and then I told my friend, let's just call him Adam. So I told him, and he was pissed about it, but like, I'd already told the manager, like, I was calming down, but I was just pissed, like, dude, I'm honestly like, I cannot believe how much shit I used to let slide, because Chris, like, me now would have been like, fuck this job. That's it. Like, I wouldn't have held my tongue for this job. I wouldn't have went outside to cool off. Like, I get pissed at myself because of how much I allowed at this job. But anyway, one of the things we did at this job were lock-ins during the summer. Lock-ins were things like church groups, or sometimes after prom, like people would rent out the whole facility after hours. One of my first lock-ins, I worked, and these girls, these two girls walked in. They had been outside in the coaster, and they walked in, and they were talking about something, but I didn't know what they were talking about. And Jack and Allison were both there, and so I remember the girls whispering about what happened. I heard from somebody else what they were whispering about. So somebody else told me that Jack was outside running the roller coaster, and he was talking in an accent, either an Irish accent or a British, something from like out of the country. And the girls believed him. So they said, say something in an American accent. And he said, what's up, nigga? No. And the girls, it was two white girls, two really young white girls, and whoever told me about it said the girls like kind of like they nervously laughed, but they said they felt uncomfortable about it. I don't know, and that's why they were talking about it inside. But I can't think of who told me, because I didn't hear him say it off, or maybe he was telling us. He might have been telling us. I don't know, but I remember somebody else was like replaying the story, and at first I was just like shocked. And then I was just like, no, that's not cool. I don't remember if it was him that was telling me the story, if it was somebody else working, but I think it was him. But I was like, no, that's not cool. I don't fuck with that, like all that. So, you know, at this point in life, I wasn't aware of things like HR. All I knew you could do was like go tell like your managers and stuff. And who do you tell when it's the owner's son? You can't tell the owner, you know what I'm saying? So like, whenever I said it, like, I remember him coming to me later and like apologizing. So, whatever. So anyway, so going off with that, at a lock-in about a week later, I'm working it again with Jack, Allison, and 2 of my friends, both black. We're all up at the counter with Allison. Keep in mind, at this point, I don't like her anymore because of stories that I haven't even gotten to yet, so I told you I'm all out of order, but I don't like her at this point. I'm only there because I was really good friends with Adam, and he's like a peacemaker, and he was like, be nice, be nice. At this point in time, I was starting to lose that shyness to me, and I was starting to get my attitude, and I was starting to like be who I am now. Not 100%, but I was starting. So at this point, like, I didn't like this bitch, and I didn't really hide that I didn't like this bitch. Anyway, so we're all thing. I'm faking being nice because he asked me to, and my other friend is there, so I'm like trying to be nice to everybody. So we're all talking, and then she brings up the whole situation, the what's up nigga situation, and she says it, and I'm like, and Adam's like, calm down, and he's like, no, it wasn't funny. Like he checks her without being rude. He checks her in a nice way. And while he's telling her it's not funny, her rebuttal is, well, I just think it's so funny because he's so white. And he was like, well, that's exactly why it's not funny. Now, I think I said something to the effect of, I don't remember what I said. I said something smart to my brother, and I just walked away because I was pissed. So I walked in the back, and he came back there with me because he was pissed. So, and then my friend just walked away. So me and her back there talking, and I'm like, I fucking hate this bitch, like, all this shit. And he's like, yeah, I know, like, fuck her, whatever, blah, blah. So while we're back there talking, here she comes, Allison. She's like, secrets don't make friends. And I said something like, I don't want to be your fucking friend, or something like that. Something very, like, it wasn't that rude. It was just, like, honest. Like, I don't want to be your fucking friend. Why would I want to be your friend? And she was like, got all pissy. You know the whole white tear thing. Like, you said something racist first, but then you're going to try to get upset and make me the aggressive one. And you're going to be the victim now. She starts crying and goes and hides in laser tag. I should have said more. And it's like all this shit came out at lock-in. So this was another lock-in where, if you guys don't know, I'm black and Mexican. Adam is black and white. So there was one day we were in the back of the cafe. It was right after the lock-in. We were just waiting to get checked out to go. We were waiting for everybody else to be done so we could all walk out together. So me and him were in the back of the cafe, and we're talking about being mixed, and I believe we were talking about something to the effect of like our family members that aren't black. I don't even remember what we were talking about. I just know it had something to do with us being mixed. It was just, we were just talking about it. Like, Jack comes up and he just flat out says he doesn't believe in races mixing. And I was like, did you not just hear the conversation? I know you did, because that's why you brought it up. So you know that I just said that I'm black and Mexican. You know that he just said he's black and white. So why would you say that? And like, so he's like, I just don't think, you know, like other races, like races should date outside their race, blah, blah. And so I was like, I'm like, so basically what you're saying is that, you know, his mom and his dad never should have been together, and my grandma, like, should have never had my mom, and then my mom being mixed herself, like, should have never, you know, like, I'm just going on, like, and he's like, you know what, I don't care. Let's just not talk about it anymore. I don't care. You can date whoever you want. He just backtracked and all that. So I couldn't believe he said that. So then another reason why I didn't like Allison beforehand, like how I said in the last one, was one time she was doing a party and she referred to black men giving oral sex as going fishing. And I said, what the hell does that mean? And she was like, oh, well, you know, because black girls, and then she's like motioned into like the vagina area. And she was like, because black girls, you know, stink. And I said, bitch, like, my one friend was back there who was also a black girl, and she was like, just no, like, it's not your birthday. Because I was like, bitch, what the fuck? And then she was like, why would you say that in general, but especially, why would you say that to 2 black girls? So, she's like, oh, I'm just kidding. Bitch, that's not a joke, that's not funny. Why would you even think that was okay to say? So at that point, I was like, you know, I think I'm going home. Don't be around me, like, I'm pissed. Like, I wanted to beat her ass, and then my friend was like, as soon as she walked away, she was like, Crystal, you know she's a snitch, like, you want this job. This was the summer before I went to college, I think, or I don't know, but I was trying to save money, but fuck that job. Like, I should have been like, fuck this job, got another job, because why did I want that job? I should have been like, fuck this job, fuck this bitch, beat her ass, and called it a day. But anyway, a manager told us that the owners, if they ever talked about Canadians in front of us, it was them actually referring to black people, but they didn't want to say it out loud. And so they would constantly talk about black people in front of us and refer to them as Canadians so they could say the things that they wanted to say. Jack had a crush on this one girl that worked there. She was a black girl. Allison said one time out loud that she didn't understand that because Jack always said he didn't find black men or women attractive, which is not true because we all had a theory that Jack was secretly gay. There were things he said that he was very homophobic, but I think it was because he didn't want to admit he was gay. Like, I mean, he never came out as gay, and I don't want to say that, but it sounded like a defense mechanism. And so her statement of him saying that was obviously not true because he was constantly complimenting a lot of black men. He thought Michael Ealy was attractive. He thought one of the managers was attractive. That was a black man. And he said he referred to him as a beautiful chocolate man. All types of stuff. So that statement wasn't true, but then I was very annoyed that he even said it and that she thought it was okay to say that. So the owner had a father who would come in and do work every once in a while. And one time he came in, he was like, oh, hello, sir, like, whatever, trying to be nice to him. And the owner's father responds to Adam by saying, I can't hear you, boy, your lips are too big. That was honestly clearly racially motivated because, not that it matters anyway, but Adam has his features were very like, I don't want to call them like white, that sounds racist, but he didn't have like your typical Afro features, and so his lips honestly weren't really big. So it was just something that the owner's father said just to be racist, just for no reason, like just to be an asshole. Like what? Okay, so there was one summer, I think I had been there for like 2 or 3 summers, and Jack let me help him with the hiring process. He let me help with the applications, he let me go through them with him, blah, blah, blah. He was going through their Facebooks. So there was this one man, it was a black man, and this man had a lot of experience on his application, and Jack kind of just dismissed it. He was like, no, put it in the no pile. I was like, why? He was like, I don't really believe that he actually worked at all these places. Yeah, I think he's making these jobs up. I don't think he did all this work, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, he put that in the no pile. So then there was this girl. She was a high school girl. He went on her Facebook, and it was a white girl. And he's like, oh yeah, I think she'd be a really good fit. He's going through her profile pictures. He's like, yeah, I think she'd be a really good fit. Then all of a sudden he gets to one. I'm on the other side doing the paperwork. I'm not paying attention at first. So he's like, oh, never mind. I don't think she's gonna be a good fit. And I'm like, why not? And I look up, I look at her profile picture that he's on, and it's her with her black boyfriend. He's like, put her in the no pile. So every time I would like question him on it, just be like, why? He'd make some like stupid ass excuse as to why he changed his mind, but it was obvious. Okay, and this is my last story that I wrote in my notes, but I still feel like I'm forgetting something, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. But disclaimer, this lady was in the wrong, but he didn't have to make it racial. So it was the middle of a, like, I don't want to call it a snowstorm. It was the middle of winter, and it had been a snowstorm. And our parking lot was kind of icy, but anyway. So me and Jack were closing, and this lady leaves, and it was a Hispanic lady. She left, and then she comes back in, and she's pissed. I don't feel like dealing with it. I'm already ready to clock out. Technically, I am clocked out. I just had to wait for Jack to finish counting the tills. So I'm like, you know what? Let me go get the manager for you. She wanted to talk to the manager anyway, but she had an attitude when she asked for him, so I just walked away and went and got him. So he's talking to her. She's yelling at him. So I'm being nosy because I love seeing him get yelled at. And but I couldn't hear what she was saying. So I could just see her, like, her head moving. So he dismisses her. She goes back, whatever, blah, blah. She's still pissed when she walks out, though. I see it. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm like, what happened? Being nosy. And he was like, I'm gonna go pull the tapes up. So he comes back from watching the tapes, and I'm like, okay, so what happened? So he tells me that she came in and said that there was like this big chunk of ice in the parking lot, and it messed her car up, and she wanted money for a car or something like that. So he's like, but he pulled the tapes back, and what actually happened was she like skidded on ice or something, or she did run over like a little ice chunk, but she got out the car and picked up this big chunk of ice and like threw it or something. Like, she fucked her own car up. Like, she grabbed a big chunk of ice and then like fucked her car up more than it actually got fucked up, just so that she could like throw a fit and try to get some money. So she was wrong for that. But where he was wrong was, while he's telling me what happened, he's describing the video, and he says, I think this was in the year of 2015, because whatever year it was, the car was the same year. So he was like, yeah, well, she's driving a 2015 Impala, and she's Hispanic, so I know she leased it. For no reason, like just being racist for no reason. And when he said that, I was just like, how do you know she leased it just because she's Hispanic? He's like, well, you know. No, I don't know. And then 2016, the year Trump was running for the first time, he's in the back trying to convince me that I should vote for Trump. I was like, did you forget that I'm Mexican? He was like, yeah, but your family's not illegal. That'll make it better. Then he also that year bought a poster of Obama stepping on what I think was the Constitution, and Trump sitting on a bench right next to him crying, and a whole bunch of like white politicians and other like just white citizens standing in the background with, I think one of them had a pitchfork or like some fire or something in their hand, and like a torch, and then like they're all just like looking pissed off, and Obama's just like smiling in the picture, which I guess that's technically not racist, but if you support Trump, you're racist in my book, so I don't really need to get into that. But anyway, that's all I have in my notes. If I can think of anything else, I will make a part 2 to this video, because I really feel like I am missing parts because there was so much, and I really wanted to do them, but I missed the time limit, so I can't. But it's just, I should have spoken up about this years ago when it first happened, but I'm speaking up about it now. So, but yeah. So if I think of anything else, I will make a part 2 to this video, because not only, like, this was just from my point of view, but I feel like other people who work there probably saw more than I saw. So I don't know. I will say that when I quit that job like 4 times, but when I quit in 2016, I quit in a Black Lives Matter shirt, and they were pissed. But anyway, so yeah. That's it for this story time. Make sure you give it, well, I guess you don't have to give it a thumbs up for this one because it wasn't like a good story. But you can comment, subscribe, share with all your friends, all that. And I will, it's okay. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye. I will just have to.